Hi, Hugo here at NAMM 2018 with 4ms, showing the Spherical Wavetable Navigator. So this is a 6 oscillator module. I'm going to turn them on. Right now they're all playing the same notes, and those oscillators are wavetable oscillators, and the wavetables are spherical and they're browsed with spherical coordinates. I'll get back to this eventually. So there's multiple sections on the module. The top section here is the mixer section with the mute buttons here and the levels for each of the 6 oscillators. The oscillators are completely independent of each other and can have different pitch and different wavetables assigned to them. Then there's an LFO section here with 6 wavetable LFOs that run also at audio rates and that have independent outputs that can be CV or audio, depending on which range you are at. And on the bottom section of the module is the browsing section for the wavetable, which allow you to browse those spheres and get different waveforms on each of your VCOs, and I'll get back to that as well. So just to sum that up, mixer section on top with mute buttons and levels for each of the oscillators, 6 LFOs, wavetable, completely independent, run to audio rates. In the middle section here with their independent controls, and then wavetable browsing on the bottom. So 3 sections to the module. I'm going to turn the oscillators on. So I'm going to show you first thing is that if you listen to those oscillators, you can hear that the sound is not quite static, even though they're all in the same waveform and same pitch. And the reason for that is that we've introduced analog noise on each of the individual LFO VCOs, and they're all drifting slowly from each other in a different way, which is typical of analog oscillators and make this big analog unison sound that we all love. So I can also go and fine-tune the module, of course, globally. And every global control, like the fine-tune I just controlled, can be done individually by choosing a channel and turning the encoder. So now I'm detuning the channels individually, and I'm getting a larger sound. I can also transpose by semitones, globally, or individually. Now I have a chord that I can also transpose globally still and play some sort of chord memory. There's a CV input for what I'm doing here, a global CV input to do this, and then a CV input, 1 VARP octave input for each of the oscillators. And these inputs can be quantized to scales internally. So if you don't have a quantizer, you can still grab your LFO or grab the LFO from the onboard LFO, put it in here and quantize it. So now we have this chord that I'm going to transpose back up. I'm going to add some notes. And what I'm going to do is send those LFOs to each of the VCAs. And to do this, I press this button here. You can hear now that the module is in stereo, and it's like the SMR. If only one output is plugged, everything goes to this output. If both are plugged, odds goes to one and evens goes to the other. So you get a stereo field. Right now the LFOs are controlling the level on each of the oscillators, the VCAs for each of the oscillators. And I can switch the LFO mode to gate. The gate is open whenever the LFO is halfway through its range, and closes whenever it's below halfway. Or trigger, which always triggers at rising edge. So now we have a sequencer. And I can still transpose. I can still make individual adjustments. Going back to the LFOs, I can control their speed. Go up and down. The LFOs are tied to a main clock, which is currently internal, but can also be external. You can plug your external clock in there, so they're tied to that clock. They're running in out of phase by 60 degrees, so in a sequence. We can also synchronize them. Now they're all running together. I'm going to go back to a sequence. And like we adjusted the speed globally, I can also do it individually. You can choose a channel, multiply the speed, and get a different groove for it. There's also a phase adjustment to adjust the phase on each of these and create even more of a shuffle. how this guy is moving in terms of delay in regards to the other ones. Different groove. So you can be creative. You can also play your mixer. Okay, that's it for the LFO section. I'm gonna reset it. Okay. So we're back to a drone here. I want to show you a little bit the kind of thick drones you can get out of it. So now, wavetable browsing. We browse with spherical coordinates, which are depth, which is the radius, the depth within the sphere, the latitude, which is an angle, and the longitude, another angle. So we browse with some sort of beam that's moving within the sphere. So I can grab an LFO here, I'll grab the first one, and I can plug it into the latitude. And I'm going to slow it down. You can feel the timbre changing here. It's really deep. I can grab another one and plug it into the longitude. Adjust the speed for it. And now we get these very meaty basses, which we can still transpose up, of course. So this is the wavetable navigation I'm automating. But I can also, the position within the wavetable is indicated with the outer ring. The color indicates with red tones the depth, green tones the latitude, and blue tones the longitude per channel. So each set of 4 LEDs is a channel. The outer ring is the position within the sphere, and the inner ring is the sphere that's loaded. So I'm going to show you different spheres here. I'm going to switch my LFOs to triggers and send them to the VCAs. And now I'm going to switch the spheres to some that have a brighter content. Of course, I can automate that as well. By plugging it in here. I can add a little bit of delay to that. And still transpose and do all those things. So, final set of features here. For this one. So I'm going to go back here, reset it real quick, boom, quick reset, mute everything so we don't get blasted, boom. All right. All right. So now we have a drone. I'm going to create a chord, randomly pick notes, really. It doesn't have to be nice sounding. And the reason why I did this is because I'm going to switch to key mode. And now in key mode, I'm able to trigger the LFOs. The LFOs won't cycle anymore, they just run once. And every time I press, I get a different note here. So I can play each of my notes. If I'm transposing and I'm quantizing, you'll notice that the note changes and stays quantized. Cool. And finally, I can do the note mode here, where every time the quantization changes,